Ruby had suddenly transformed into a completely different person. The atmosphere around her had changed dramatically. Ivan had intended to approach Ruby for a conversation at the arena, but when he spoke, he was met with a deadly glare from her. Ruby now appeared as though she could leave this place at any moment, her face showing no attachment to this life. From that moment on, Ivan's group couldn't figure out which was more concerning, Ivok or the young madam. A question constantly lingered in Ivan's mind. Should he worry about Isaac or the young madam? He knew he could only do what he could, and for now he could only stand on the sidelines, restless and worried. At the highest point of the arena, something happened between Ruby and Chza. She suddenly stood up, making Chza worry. "Ruby, where are you going?" he asked. "The restroom," Ruby replied indifferently, leaving Chza standing alone with a look of concern. The sound of running water echoed from the restroom. Ruby used her hands to wash away all the stains on herself. She scrubbed harder and harder, the sounds growing louder in the distance until they suddenly stopped. Then, the ring she had been wearing fell into the sink. Ruby paused, her lifeless eyes staring at the gold ring resting below. Since when did this ring become so loose? Just then, the door to the restroom opened. "Who is it?" Ruby asked, her voice flat. "Isn't this the main character in the recent rumours? I guess because everyone's paying so much attention to you, you had to run into the restroom in such a fluster." Freya entered with a smirk. "Are you looking down on me?" Ruby responded lightly. "Are you talking to me? I don't even know who else would be here." Freya's arrogance only grew. "Seriously, if you're speechless, just hiccup, it'll help you speak again." Ignoring her, Ruby focused back on her ring. "You finally revealed your true colours when your brother is here, haven't you? The lovely young madam has deceived everyone. You act like you don't know anything, but you clearly know my identity. Last time you put on quite the show, a play that you wrote and directed yourself." Freya's silence spoke volumes. Ruby continued, "You poured tea on yourself and pretended to be the victim. Not only did you aim for the position of Grand Duchess, but you even said you'd become the Empress of Alendi. It was bland, but entertaining." Ruby's tone hardened. "But a mere marquis's daughter like you, daring to say such rebellious words in front of the young madam. Who do you think I'll tell about these things?" Freya burst into laughter, masking the unease she felt. "My poor Isaac. I'm really curious what Isaac will do when he learns your true nature." Ruby's gaze turned cold. "That's probably not something you should be curious about. It seems you still don't understand the situation." "You're the one who doesn't understand. Your actions yesterday offended the entire North." Ruby stepped closer to Freya, her voice growing sharper. "Miss, please be aware of the situation here and behave appropriately. You're just a marquis's daughter, nothing more. Yet you're acting like this. Did your parents teach you to speak such rebellious words so easily?" Freya recoiled, unable to respond, her mouth twisted in frustration, her earlier bravado gone. "You've said enough," Freya muttered, gritting her teeth. "I'll tell Isaac everything." But before Freya could leave, a third person intervened. It was Elle, her presence commanding. "What are you doing here?" Elle asked, her voice firm. Freya never imagined Elle would appear here. Surprised, she stumbled over her words, but before she could reply, Elle repeated her question. "What are you doing here, Freya?" The boldness Freya once held dissolved. Her lips trembled as she muttered that she was simply using the restroom. As she brushed past Elle, she shot a final glare at Ruby. "Don't worry, I'm fine," Ruby reassured Elle, guessing that her sister-in-law had likely rushed here fearing for her safety. There wasn't much time left, and Ruby didn't want to argue further. So she left the restroom. Returning to her seat, she found Chza waiting for her. The tension between them was palpable. Chza broke the silence, his voice attempting to sound concerned. "It seems your mood isn't very good," he said. Ruby's response was sharp. "Sorry, but maybe you're mistaken. I'm so happy right now that I want to die immediately. I know how to control my expressions. You don't need to stare at me like that." After a long pause, Chza unexpectedly responded. "You told me to stare at you. I never thought my sister would say such bitter words. You should smile a little. Soon your husband will become the king of the North. Be nice to him." His words caught Ruby off guard. She had no response, but the statement shifted the mood. Chza seemed poised to say more when a subordinate of his entered, whispering something urgently into his ear. Chza's expression remained unreadable, but Ruby could tell it was something important. Outside the arena, the atmosphere was completely different. Excitement was at a fever pitch as the time for the match approached. As dusk fell, the competition would officially begin. Ruby and Chza silently awaited the moment. Only Petro, one of their subordinates, continued joking around, his tone a contrast to the serious mood. Inside the armory, Andy and Isaac spoke of the cheers outside, which seemed even louder than before. "I'm sure you'll win today too," Andy said, his voice filled with excitement. "And one day, when I'm older, I'll definitely participate in this tournament and continue your glory." Isaac barely reacted, polishing his sword with a focused expression. "You talk too much," he muttered. "Leave me. I need some quiet." But Andy wasn't deterred. "If you win today, the young miss will receive a laurel wreath. I'm sure she'll smile and be happy. When I inherit your glory later, I wonder if anyone will give me a laurel wreath." Isaac's expression softened for a moment, and he replied, "I feel a little shy talking to ladies." "You talk very well with my wife," Andy teased. Isaac smirked. "That's because your wife is truly an angel." Suddenly, a knock came from outside. "Sir Isaac, you have a visitor." Andy assumed the visitor was probably Ruby, and Isaac immediately stood up, his mind wandering to thoughts of the beautiful Ruby. He secretly wished it was really her. But when the door opened, it wasn't Ruby standing there. Instead, it was Freya, the sobbing woman. Isaac's frustration boiled over. He didn't want to deal with someone like her. Without a second thought, he slammed the door shut, but Freya pushed against it, trying to explain. "I know it's just a misunderstanding, but there's something I must tell you." Isaac growled in response. "I don't want to hear it. Get out." "This is about Cardinal Valentino and your wife," she continued. Isaac paused for a moment, his gaze turning cold, his eyes fixed on her with a frightening intensity. "Do you want to die?" he asked, his voice dangerously calm. "You may think I'm trying to separate everyone, but I'm not the only one who saw it. Your friend, even Ellen, witnessed it with their own eyes. If you doubt me, just ask them." Isaac's rejection of her words only fueled her desperation. "If anything happened to my wife, they would definitely come and tell me directly," he added, his voice rising with anger. Suddenly, Freya screamed in the middle of the room. "They kissed, right in the garden. You made Cardinal Valentino and your wife kiss there. What siblings in this world kiss like that?" Her accusation hit Isaac like a blow. In a flash, he grabbed her by the collar and growled, "What do you gain from making up these lies? I wish I had seen it wrong, but I can understand why you're doing this to me. But all the rumours surrounding the young madam are true. We've all been fooled by the Borgia family's cunning schemes." The sounds from the stands interrupted their heated argument. There were only 5 minutes left for Isaac to return to the arena. Without another word, he left Freya standing there, walking briskly toward the door. Freya grabbed his arm, trying to stop him. "Please, I beg you, give up. Let go." Isaac's voice was calm but firm. "How can I let go when I don't know what tricks they've pulled? What am I supposed to do if something happens to you the next second?" Freya let out a shrill scream as Isaac pulled away from her. "You fool," she shouted. "That woman has been playing with you from the start. If this continues, you'll be the one who dies. Please, come to your senses." As Isaac walked away, his mind briefly drifted to memories of a small town where two siblings used to play together every day. One day, while playing tag, the older brother tripped over something and fell. "What's wrong, brother? What did you trip on?" The older brother picked up a small black drawstring bag. Out of curiosity, the younger sister opened it, revealing its contents. Meanwhile, in the arena of death, a giant monster appeared, towering over the players. The spectators were dissatisfied with the warrior's performance, believing he seemed too insignificant to face such a creature. But Ruby, unable to focus on the excitement below, felt a wave of dizziness wash over her. Suddenly, a player was struck by the monster, his body thrown into the wall with a sickening crash. His life was taken in an instant. The monster roared in celebration, unaware of the heavy price it would soon pay. It wiggled its body, preparing to strike again. But Isaac appeared from behind, his armor gleaming as he prepared to face the beast. The monster, sensing a worthy opponent, roared in excitement. But in just a few seconds, Isaac finished it off with a single slash. The massive body collapsed like a landslide. The arena erupted in cheers as Isaac's talent was acknowledged after such an overwhelming victory. The result was clear. Ruby, however, wasn't impressed. Watching the clean-up unfold, she muttered, "How boring. I didn't expect you to say that." Chza smirked. "Who here cares about the life and death of others? You're the same." Ruby shot him a look. "So you don't care about your husband?" Chza teased. Ruby didn't respond, knowing Isaac could easily win this tournament without her concern. Chza laughed. "Is that so?" But then, something unexpected happened. The players below, who had been celebrating Isaac's victory, suddenly widened their eyes and began to cough hysterically. Karis, watching from the stands, recognized it immediately. "It's the legendary ghoul army." Gaia nodded. "It's a magical beast that causes extreme mental pain. The fighters below are enduring the worst and most painful memories of their lives." Isaac, however, remained unaffected. His resolve was unwavering, and his power unmatched. As the other participants began to deform under the pressure, Isaac stood tall, suppressing the pain with sheer strength. He infused energy into his blade, enveloping it in a spectrum of light. Then, with a single step forward, he struck at the ghoul, wreaking havoc. In one swift blow, the monster was defeated. "Seems the final winner has been determined," Chza remarked, impressed. Ruby continued to complain, though. "I'm going to sleep. Don't wake me up. I'm very tired." Chza chuckled. "Interesting reason." Ruby didn't care to elaborate, only wanting to escape his chatter. She lay back, trying to fall asleep, but just then a strange sensation awoke her. Had she really fallen asleep? What was that noise? Looking closely at the arena, Ruby saw the entire audience holding their breath. A massive figure emerged from the smoke, a monstrous beast resembling the Grim Reaper. It was 3 times the size of the ghoul. This was the first time Ruby had seen something so grotesque. It was a lich, an immortal, magical creature created by humans using the body of a suicidal priest. Ruby realized at once this had to be her father's doing. Bringing out a lich required the special permission of the Pope. Moreover, it needed the approval of most members of the Cardinal 8. She turned instinctively to Chza, her thoughts racing. A sinister smile crept onto his face, and Ruby understood everything. Desperately, Ruby searched the arena for Isaac. What she saw made her blood run cold. Isaac was lying motionless, blood pooling around him. She could see his body covered in scraps of metal, crimson stains flowing from his feet. Isaac was gasping for his last breath. The horrifying scene left Ruby frozen, her heart pounding relentlessly. She could hardly breathe, her emotions a whirlwind of confusion and dread. Why is it so quiet? Shouldn't he be able to escape? "Isaac, you're not like the others. You're the main character." Then, those blood-red eyes stared at her. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Ruby thought she heard him ask. "Are you blaming me? Do you think the time we spent together was just a trick created by a witch?" Ruby's heart clenched painfully. he continued, his voice soft, almost regretful. Sometimes I thought, if I were to die by your hand, it wouldn't be so bad. Suddenly, Ruby screamed, "No!" Her screams grew louder and louder as she rushed toward him, but Chza stopped her. "Ruby, stay away from the shield." At that moment, the Grim Reaper loomed before them, its monstrous form regarding them as prey, sniffing the air intently. Isaac, however, was finally freed from the weight of the beast's crushing feet. His legs began to move slowly, despite his injuries. The mages felt a deep, growing fear. "Is it coming this way?" one whispered. They realized that attacking it with magic was useless. It had no effect. Ruby could only collapse helplessly, her heart sinking. Facing something so gigantic felt like a nightmare. Beside her, Chza was filled with rage, preparing to strike back. "This is bad. The plan is ruined," he muttered. But what shocked him even more was Isaac, who had once seemed resigned to death. Now the warrior charged forward, filled only with hatred. Isaac didn't hesitate. With one swift motion he delivered a fatal blow to the Grim Reaper. The wound was so deep it seemed to tear the monster apart. The beast's body erupted in a massive explosion, sending Isaac flying out of the arena. The light from the explosion illuminated everything around them. The entire arena seemed on the brink of collapse. The audience gasped, some in surprise, others in panic. Ruby, too, was in shock. Despite the explosion, Isaac hadn't fallen. His body, pushed beyond its limits, was proof of his unyielding strength. And Elle, like the others, stood in stunned silence, some on the verge of tears. The applause and cheers filled the air, but Isaac paid no attention to it. He was severely injured, but all that mattered to him was the battle. Ruby stamped her feet in frustration, watching the obvious outcome unfold. Chza turned to her, concerned. "Ruby, are you okay? You look like you were about to faint." Ruby mumbled, her voice barely audible. "You did it, didn't you? You allowed the lich to appear in the match." Chza, however, seemed unfazed, his tone casual. "The one who will be my beloved sister's husband can't withstand this. It can't be helped, Ruby. You don't need to worry about anything. Even after this match ends, your husband won't be able to do anything to you, even if he hears about what happened yesterday." His words pierced Ruby's heart. Not only had he pushed an innocent person to their death, but he spoke of it as if it were nothing, casually dismissing the horror of what had happened. Did he really have no sense of guilt? The horse's hooves clopped against the ground, heading in only one direction. Isaac's eyes looked sad as he glanced at Ruby, but he didn't speak. Ruby couldn't understand what she looked like to him now, no longer the noble princess, but the witch who had led him into the abyss. "If you were to behead me here and now and say, 'Let us end our relationship,' would I still be selfish enough to ask you to stop?" A wreath, golden like her hair, was suddenly presented to Ruby. She couldn't believe it. Her eyes widened, unable to look away. Isaac still looked at her the same way, that affectionate smile always meant for Ruby. Now, Ruby couldn't smile back. The weight of everything hit her all at once. Isaac had given her something she never dared to expect, something she couldn't have imagined, something that had been right in front of her eyes all along. It was love. The very thing some people spend their entire lives searching for, the thing some sing about, wishing it would never change, the thing others doubt because those around them deny its existence. And now Ruby could know for sure. It had always been Isaac. He had always been the one protecting her, acknowledging her existence, and comforting her from the first moment they met. He was the one who pulled the dark curtain over her soul into the light. Why had she doubted him so many times? She had thought about it too many times to count. Yet he always gently reached out to catch her, despite her foolishly pushing him away. Even now, after receiving such a great gift, she still only thought about using it for her own safety, with a wicked heart. If she could be with him, Even just for a while, her heart would beat again. Even if she had to fall into hell, she would willingly do so, because this was the first time in her life she had yearned for something. But why was she being pulled away now? Her panicked expression was clear. Wait a minute, why? Suddenly, Chza stopped caring about what Ruby said. His mind was consumed by the moment he had witnessed with Isaac and Ruby. Ruby had been so happy to see Isaac. Chza's eyes showed nothing but surprise as Ruby's voice echoed in his memory. Hey, where are you taking me? That moment had been seen by Freya and her younger brother Lorenzo. Isaac and Ellen, too, had been so enchanted by the wit around them that they couldn't think straight. They needed help, and it was clear that Lorenzo didn't know what to say in response. Meanwhile, at the banquet, a commotion was rising. No, I said no! Ruby's voice rang out, and then she disappeared without a trace. Ivan clicked his tongue in annoyance, scolding loudly. Lower your voice, Cam. There are too many people watching. You're the head of the escort team. Why weren't you keeping a closer watch on them? Cam wiped the sweat from his forehead, flustered. When we arrived at the palace, they were both clearly there. Could they have left the banquet hall? I don't know. Just then, Ellen rushed up to Ivan, a worried look on her face. Princess, you haven't seen them either? Ivan asked, surprised. Ellen shook her head, sadness clouding her expression. No, I've searched everywhere. But why would they both disappear at a time like this? Meanwhile, everyone was whispering Isaac's name. Isn't the champion supposed to enter the banquet last with the king? How could he come in so badly injured? Ian asked, astonished. You were in that condition and still came here. But Isaac didn't answer. His eyes were fixed elsewhere. Where's Ruby? Everyone began searching for her, but no one had any news. Isaac turned his back and walked away, his steps heavy as he moved toward the door. Freya watched him, annoyed. Aren't you curious where your beloved wife has gone? You clearly saw the scene of the two siblings holding hands and leaving the banquet hall. The room Ruby was in was shrouded in darkness. She frowned, looking around. What is this? Why is there a room full of mirrors? How did you even know about this place? Do you have spies in the palace? Chza opened a window slightly. It's not like that, Ruby. This place resembles the garden you were gifted. King Fennel created this room specially for the queen, who couldn't give up her dancing habit. The style seems rustic, but isn't it a wonderful symbol of love? King Fennel, a man born into an ordinary family, couldn't pass on the right of succession to the woman he loved, or their daughter. If he had been a more thoughtful king, he wouldn't have brought such a queen back and caused the collapse of the royal authority. He wouldn't have trembled before your childish husband. Ruby's eyes narrowed with disgust. So what's your point? Her hands clenched and her body trembled with anger. Chza stepped in front of her. I don't want you to live like a queen in this rustic place. Whether it's a greenhouse or a mirrored room, everything here is just a cheap imitation. There's only one place where you can truly become a queen. My kingdom. Ruby's face tightened. Father probably won't live much longer. Chza hugged Ruby tightly, his voice low and determined. I'll speak of meaningless things later. For now, let's focus on what matters. Ruby angrily pushed him away. Why should I do that? Chza's face darkened in disbelief. What's wrong with you, Ruby? You're confused, that's why you're saying this, right? She immediately retorted, her voice sharp. The one who's confused isn't me, it's you. Normally you would have slapped me by now, but just because of a kiss, your eyes have changed when looking at me. What else did you say? Queen? You told me to become your wife. Since when have you been looking at me like that? Chza, stunned, asked, Since when? How could you not know? Ruby shook her head in disbelief. No, we don't have time for this. Come with me and we'll talk later. We'll leave this place on the ship I've already prepared to return home. Ruby looked at him in confusion. Are you taking me out of here now? Have you forgotten where this is? This isn't Romania. Chza interrupted her, his voice cold. Don't worry, Ruby. When we leave, this place will turn into a sea of fire. Ruby still didn't understand what he meant. At least tell me what's going on. What's your plan that gives you so much confidence? If what you say is true, from the time we leave here until we board Elmo's ship, you've arranged something to distract all of Elendi. But what is it? Outside, thunder and lightning rumbled. Chza said, "Soon, the monsters will smell the magic stone and come here. When dusk falls, everything will officially begin." Ruby's face darkened. "So what? You don't want me to be in danger?" Chza's expression grew darker. "You have to go, quickly." Ruby jerked her hand away. "I don't want to. Not at all. I have no intention of leaving." Chza's face was full of anger. "Is it because of him? Just because of a cheap crown you're wavering? How many times do I have to tell you? He doesn't truly love you. What others see in you is just your father's 3-tiered crown and the power of gold." Ruby's face darkened with hurt. "So, you mean the only one who truly loves me is you?" Chza didn't deny it. "That's right." Ruby shook her head vehemently. "No, you're wrong. The feeling you're talking about is just a dirty obsession." Ruby's voice faltered with a bit of fear. "You just a little displeased, and you're ready to hit me. Moreover, you arbitrarily sold me to others." Chester was speechless. His eyes showed no joy for a long time. "It might be hard for you to understand now. I did that because I care about you." Ruby interrupted him harshly. "That's not love." Chez's hand tightened in frustration. Ruby's eyes were fierce as she continued. "Do you know when I'm happiest? It's when someone truly cares about me. Someone who empathizes with my pain, my tears, and holds me in their arms. You never did that. You only ever forced me to do things I didn't want to. Do you understand the difference between you and..." Chez's expression darkened as he remembered his father's words. "Okay, but you must never disobey me. If you don't want to end up in the orphanage again," Ruby coldly replied, "the only reason I want to stay here is that I want to live happily beside a husband who loves and cherishes me sincerely." Chez's hand tightened again. "Stop it now!" Ruby didn't give him a chance. "Do you think I still have naive thoughts? No. I know for sure that I truly love Isaac. Please stop interfering with us. Leave on your own. I'll never let go of Isaac, and I'll never come to you, no matter what, even if I have to die." A sharp cracking sound echoed through the room. Chza smashed something angrily. "I told you to shut up." The tension was unbearable. Suddenly, the door burst open, and Isaac charged in like a predatory tiger. "Madame, Ruby, are you awake?" Ruby's body was weak. Ellen, with relief in her voice, said, "Thank goodness everyone's here." Ruby didn't expect Freya to help her, but Ellen stopped her. "Ruby, you can't get up." Isaac stopped her. "No matter who he is, I won't let my brother kill him. If he does, he won't live in peace." Chza blocked Isaac's sword, and bright red blood began to flow. The sword broke as Chza slowly backed away. It was clear Isaac no longer cared about anything else. "You bastard!" Ian ran up too. Isaac's feet sparked with blue lightning as he rushed toward Chza. The two were like opposing waves in the sea, neither willing to give in. No one could stop them now. Everyone covered their ears, unable to bear the pressure. Ruby, in panic, looked at Ellen. "What's going on? Am I the only one who can't feel what's happening around me?" Her hand gripped the bracelet, and it began to glow. "I have to stop Isaac first," Ruby thought, her heart pounding. But Ellen suddenly grabbed Ruby's hand. "Ruby, you can't go over there. It's dangerous." Ruby froze for a moment. "Don't worry about me, Ellen," she said, but then let go of Ellen's hand and moved forward. Isaac shouted angrily, his voice full of contempt. "You've gone this far and still consider yourself Ruby's family? You damn trash." It seemed like an explosion was about to erupt. Chza also found it difficult to face Isaac. Then Omerta arrived, his voice full of disbelief. "What's going on here? Why is Isaac's father here?" The battle continued fiercely. Omerta intervened, his presence commanding attention. You brat! Have you forgotten that this man is the Pope's son? No matter what happens, you must not lose control. Omerta stood firmly in front of Isaac. Ruby's hand reached out to him. For my son. Isaac paused, startled by the words. And for my daughter-in-law too. Ruby continued, trying to stay calm. Isaac, please, I beg you, stop. Isaac gritted his teeth, still seething with anger. The battle wasn't over, but Ruby continued to hold him tightly. Slowly she opened her eyes, taking in the devastation around them. The scene was one of complete ruin. The rain was still pouring down, but Ruby was surprised to see that Isaac had disappeared. The sound of a sword clattering to the ground caught her attention, and she looked up to find Isaac standing before her. Without a word, he hugged her small body tightly. Ruby cried, her voice thick with emotion. I'm sorry, Isaac. Isaac said nothing in response, but the weight of his silence spoke volumes. I'm sorry for letting you see this. I'm really sorry, she whispered, her tears soaking his shirt. After the fierce battle, the downpour seemed to soothe the tension. Time seemed to freeze in that moment, just Ruby and Isaac in the midst of the storm. Ellen, who had witnessed everything they'd been through, felt a pang of heartache seeing them finally reunited. Ivan, who had always quietly supported the princess, noticed her mood and approached her. Princess, are you all right? She nodded. Yes, I'm fine. But seeing Ellen like that, it really hurts. Suddenly, Ivan noticed the blood on his own face, and his expression softened. Ivan, you're bleeding. Ivan smiled, the pain not diminishing his spirits. I just got hit by a shard, it's nothing. The princess, worried, couldn't shake the guilt she felt seeing him injured while shielding her. I'm sorry, it's because you were shielding me. It's okay, Ivan reassured her, his smile still warm despite the injury. This is a wound of glory. Ruby, still trembling, clung tightly to Isaac. The sight of them together made Ivan and Ellen feel a deep sense of sympathy. They both knew that Isaac and Ruby's love had been tested more than anyone should endure. Isaac, still shaken, looked at the woman he loved, whom he had almost lost, and gently touched her cheek. Ruby, let's get you treated first. Ruby hesitated, but Isaac, if we stay like this, the monsters will come soon. Isaac froze at her words, his mind racing. He didn't know how Ruby knew about the monsters, but the mention of them was enough to stop him in his tracks. Ruby realized she had made a mistake by mentioning the monsters, inadvertently foreshadowing the events to come. She quickly tried to calm herself, reminding herself not to reveal too much. Calm down, don't say too much, she thought to herself, just distract him. She quickly made up an excuse. Chza told me he scattered magic stones all over Alendi. He mentioned it when he tried to kidnap me. Now we need to quickly clean up those stones before they attract the monsters. Isaac's eyes widened. He had not expected such a revelation. He knew Chza was dangerous, but this was something entirely different. He couldn't believe it. Chza had been so deceitful, using Ruby in such a despicable way.